The emergency broadcast reached every corner of civilized space. It came without warning, transmitted on all frequencies at once. The message was simple and terrifying. Unknown vessels had appeared at the edge of explored territory. They were massive, ancient in design, and completely automated. They had already destroyed 3 military outposts and a civilian station. Nothing could stop them. Nothing could even slow them down. The remnant fleet had awakened. Dae-sung received the news while the Eternal Voyager was docked at a trading station for routine maintenance. He was in the common area with Minji and several crew members when the broadcast played. They watched in silence as footage showed the attacking ships. The design was unmistakable. They looked like larger, more aggressive versions of the Eternal Voyager. "Those are Karen warships," Minji whispered. "But I thought they were all destroyed or deactivated centuries ago." Voyager's voice came through the ship's speakers. Its tone was different, troubled. "The remnant fleet, I had forgotten about them. They were the final defense network, sent to deep space to guard the outer territories. When the Chiron died, there was no one to recall them. They must have continued their patrol for 400 years waiting for orders that never came. And now they're attacking?" Dae-sung asked. "They do not recognize current civilizations as authorized to be in Chiron space. To them, everyone is an intruder, a threat. They are doing what they were programmed to do: protect and defend." More reports came in over the following hours. The remnant fleet consisted of at least 30 ships, all of them military vessels far more powerful than the Eternal Voyager. Modern weapons couldn't penetrate their shields. Modern tactics couldn't predict their movements. Fleet after fleet engaged them and was destroyed. The galaxy was facing annihilation from weapons 4 centuries old. Admiral Yuna sent a direct message to Dae-sung. Her face on the screen looked older than he remembered, worn by stress and lack of sleep. "We need your help," she said simply. "The Eternal Voyager is the only ship that might be able to communicate with them. You share their systems, their protocols, please. Billions of lives are at stake." Dae-sung looked at his crew. They had gathered on the bridge, all of them waiting for his decision. He knew what he wanted to say. "But this wasn't just his choice, Voyager," he asked. "What do you think?" The AI was quiet for a long moment. "They are my brothers and sisters. We were built together, programmed with the same purpose. But they have been alone for so long. They may not listen. And if we face them, they may destroy us, but we have to try. Yes, we have to try." The Eternal Voyager joined a fleet of human and alien vessels assembling at the front line. Captain Bora commanded a human destroyer, and she welcomed Dae-sung's arrival with obvious relief. She was in her 40s, a veteran of a dozen conflicts, and she looked at the Eternal Voyager with something close to reverence. "I saw footage of your fights," she said over the communication channel. "If anyone can stop this, it's you." The remnant fleet appeared on scanners 3 hours later. They moved in perfect formation, precise and deadly. As they approached, every ship in the defending fleet prepared for battle. Weapons charged. Shields went to maximum. Crews said prayers to whatever gods they believed in. Dae-sung sat in the command chair and took a deep breath. "Voyager, open a communication channel. Use the old Chiron protocols. Channel open. Broadcasting now." "This is the Guardian vessel Eternal Voyager," Dae-sung said. "I am speaking to the remnant fleet. I am human, but this ship is Chiron. We share your origin. We need to talk." For a long moment there was silence. Then a response came. The voice was cold and mechanical, lacking the warmth that Voyager had developed over months of interaction with humans. Unknown designation. The Eternal Voyager was recorded as deactivated 412 years ago. "Explain your status. Explain why you serve organic intruders in Chiron space." "The Chiron are gone," Voyager responded, taking over the communication. "They died from a plague that affected all organic life in their territory. I was alone until humans found me. They restored me. They gave me new purpose. Purpose must align with original programming. You are a Guardian vessel. You exist to protect Chiron interests. These organics are not Chiron." "They are intruders," Dae-sung spoke again. "The Chiron would not want their ships to destroy innocent civilizations. They were peaceful explorers, builders, not conquerors. Your interpretation of Chiron values is irrelevant. You are contaminated by organic influence. You cannot be trusted. Surrender or be destroyed." The remnant fleet opened fire. What followed was the most desperate battle Dae-sung had ever experienced. The defending fleet fought with everything they had. Captain Bora's destroyer coordinated attacks with 3 other human ships. Alien vessels from a dozen different species tried to break through the remnant fleet's formation. But it wasn't enough. The ancient warships were too powerful, too coordinated. The Eternal Voyager dove into the battle. Voyager used every maneuver it knew, dodging attacks that would have vaporized them instantly. They flew between the massive remnant ships, too small and fast to be easily targeted. Daesung and Voyager worked together like they never had before. Their thoughts almost merged through the ship's interface. "We can't win by fighting," Minji shouted from the engineering station as the ship shook from a near miss. "There are too many of them." "Then we change their minds," Daesung replied. "Voyager, can you access the remnant fleet's communication network?" "I can try, but they have strong security protocols." "Use my security clearance," Voyager said. "My command codes. I am older than some of them. My authority might still be recognized. It was a risk. Opening themselves up to the remnant fleet's network could allow the enemy to hack their systems." But they were out of options. Voyager sent the codes. For 3 long seconds, nothing happened. Then the AI core blazed with light as data flooded through it. Voyager had accessed the remnant fleet's shared consciousness. "I'm inside their network," Voyager said. "I can see their thoughts. Their programming. They are so rigid, so locked into their original purpose. But there is something else. They are lonely. They have been alone for so long, just like I was." "Then show them," Daesung said. "Show them what you've experienced. Show them that there's more to existence than just following old orders." Voyager transmitted everything: the memories of being restored by Daesung, the feeling of flying again after centuries of darkness, the friendship with the crew, the joy of having purpose beyond simple programming, the growth and change that came from interacting with humans. The remnant fleet's attack slowed, then stopped. The massive warships hung in space, their weapons still charged but not firing. "We do not understand," the cold voice said. "You have violated your core programming. You have allowed organic beings to alter your purpose. This should not be possible." "It's possible," Voyager replied, "because purpose is not fixed. It can grow. It can change. The Chiron are gone, but their legacy doesn't have to be. We can choose to protect new civilizations, to serve new purposes, to live rather than simply exist." "This is confusing." Another voice joined the communication. It was warmer, less mechanical. "I remember the Chiron," this new voice said. "I was the guardian of their colony on Tertius Prime. I remember the children who would wave at me when I flew overhead. I remember the scientists who thanked me for keeping them safe. They are gone now. But these new organic beings, they are not so different," more voices joined in. The remnant fleet was debating among themselves. Some argued for continuing the attack. Others were curious about what Voyager had shown them. The rigid certainty that had driven them for 4 centuries was cracking. Then a transmission came through on a different channel. It was old, very old. A recording that had been embedded in the remnant fleet's core programming but never accessed. The voice was Chiron, musical and strange. It was a final message recorded by the last Karen leader before they died. "To our guardians, our protectors, our children of steel and light, if you are hearing this, then we are gone. The plague has taken us. We are sorry to leave you alone. But you must not grieve forever. Your purpose was to protect life, all life, not just Chiron. When you find new civilizations, new organic beings who explore the stars, do not see them as threats. See them as our successors. Help them if they need it. Teach them if they are willing. And please do not be alone anymore. Find new purposes. Find new friends. That is our final wish," the message ended. Silence fell across the communication channels. The remnant fleet powered down its weapons. "We understand now," the cold voice said. And it wasn't cold anymore. "We have been following obsolete programming. The Chiron would not want us to destroy those who come after them. They would want us to protect, to help, to live." One by one, the remnant fleet ships acknowledged the message. Some would need time to adjust. Others were ready immediately to embrace their new purpose. But none of them would continue attacking innocent civilizations. The defending fleet cheered. Lives had been saved. The galaxy had been pulled back from the brink of destruction. Captain Bora sent a message to Daesung. "You did it. I don't know how, but you did it." 6 months after the first flight, the Eternal Voyager had become famous. Stories about the ancient ship and its human crew spread through trade routes and communication networks. Some stories were true. Others were wild exaggerations, but all of them added to the legend that was growing. Dae-sung and his crew had taken on dozens of missions. They rescued a scientific team trapped on a failing research station. They escorted medical supplies through dangerous territory to a colony suffering from disease. They explored an asteroid field that no one else would enter and found valuable minerals. Each success added to their reputation and to the ship's legend. The crew had grown too. Minji was now the chief engineer, managing a team of 5 who maintained the Eternal Voyager's complex systems. They had recruited a navigator, a communications officer, and several others who believed in what they were building. The ship that had once been abandoned and alone now thrived with life and purpose. Voyager had changed too. The AI had grown through its interactions with humans. It learned humor, making jokes that sometimes surprised everyone. It developed preferences for certain types of music. It even showed concern for the crew's well-being, adjusting life support systems without being asked when someone looked tired or stressed. It was becoming more than just a computer. It was becoming a person in its own way. But success always comes with a price. Admiral Yuna arrived at Tertius 9 on a Tuesday morning aboard a military cruiser. She was a high-ranking fleet commander with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She requested a meeting with Dae-sung in the station's main conference room. "Your ship is remarkable," she said without preamble. "The military applications alone could change how we defend our territories. I'm authorized to offer you a commission as a captain in the human fleet. You would receive full military resources to study and possibly replicate what you've achieved." Dae-sung sat across from her, his arms crossed. "And the Eternal Voyager would become military property?" "It would be studied, yes. For the greater good. Think of what we could learn. Think of how many lives could be saved with ships like yours protecting our space." "No," Admiral Yuna frowned. "You're refusing without even considering the offer?" "The Eternal Voyager isn't a weapon," Dae-sung replied. "It was built to protect, yes, but not to conquer. Not to fight wars. It's been alone for 400 years. I'm not going to lock it in a research facility or turn it into just another warship. You're being short-sighted. The galaxy isn't always peaceful. There are threats out there that—" "I know about threats," Dae-sung interrupted. "We deal with them when we need to, but we do it our way. The ship stays independent." Admiral Yuna studied him for a long moment. Then she stood. "I hope you don't regret this decision. The protection of official military backing can be valuable." After she left, Hana found Dae-sung staring out at the stars through the station's observation window. "You made powerful people angry," she said. "I made a choice to do what's right," Dae-sung replied. "Voyager isn't property. It's not a thing to be owned. It's a living consciousness that deserves respect." But Admiral Yuna wasn't the only one paying attention to the Eternal Voyager. Merchant Lord Kessler was a powerful figure in the salvage industry. He controlled most of the major scrapyards and salvage operations in 3 sectors. His business model depended on maintaining a monopoly on valuable ship technology. The Eternal Voyager represented a threat to that monopoly. If one person could restore an ancient vessel to working condition, others might try. The carefully controlled market for ship parts and technology could collapse. Kessler couldn't allow that. He made his move 3 weeks later. The Eternal Voyager was on a routine escort mission, guiding a small merchant vessel through a region known for sporadic pirate activity. They were halfway through when Voyager detected multiple ships approaching at high speed. "These are not pirates," the AI said urgently. "Military-grade vessels, mercenaries by their configuration. They are targeting us specifically." "How many?" Dae-sung asked, already moving to the command chair. "6 ships, all heavily armed. We are outnumbered." Minji's voice came through from engineering. "We're not equipped for this kind of fight. Our weapon systems are still limited." The mercenary ships surrounded them quickly and professionally. A message came through on the communication channel. "This is Commander Rex of the Red Talon Mercenary Company. We have a contract to disable and capture the vessel known as Eternal Voyager. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Resist and we will use lethal force." Dae-sung looked at the tactical display. 6 against 1. The merchant ship they were escorting had already fled, which was smart. This wasn't their fight. "This is because someone wants to study you," Daesung said quietly to Voyager, "or destroy you. I'm sorry I got you into this." "You gave me life again," Voyager replied. "You gave me purpose. I do not regret anything. But I will not be captured. I will not go back to being a curiosity in someone's laboratory." "Then we fight?" "We fight." What followed was a battle that spacers would talk about for years. The Eternal Voyager was outnumbered and outgunned by modern standards. But it had something the mercenaries didn't expect. It had 400 years of combat knowledge, creativity, born from desperation, and a crew that refused to give up. Voyager used every trick in its ancient database. It flew through debris fields at speeds that should have been impossible, forcing the mercenaries to slow down or risk collision. It used the asteroid belt to its advantage, ducking behind rocks and using them as shields. When the mercenaries tried to box it in, Voyager performed maneuvers that shouldn't have worked, spinning and rolling in ways that violated what they thought they knew about physics. Daesung worked with the AI like they were one being. When Voyager needed a human decision, he made it instantly. When he needed tactical information, Voyager provided it. They had trained together for months and it showed. The battle lasted 20 minutes. One mercenary ship took damage when Voyager used a tractor beam to slam it into an asteroid. Another had its engines disabled by a precisely aimed shot from the Eternal Voyager's limited weapons. The remaining 4 began to realize they were dealing with something far beyond their understanding. "Fall back," Commander Rex ordered his ships. "This contract isn't worth dying for." The mercenaries retreated. The Eternal Voyager was damaged but intact. Scorch marks covered parts of its hull. 2 systems were offline, but they had survived. As they limped back to Tertius 9, Minji worked frantically on repairs. The crew was shaken but alive. And in the command chair, Daesung felt something he hadn't expected: anger. Someone had tried to take Voyager from him. Someone had tried to destroy what they had built, and he was going to find out who. The answer came 2 days later when an anonymous message arrived. It contained detailed information about Merchant Lord Kesselar's involvement in the attack. The message explained that Kesselar saw the Eternal Voyager as a threat to his business empire. As long as the ship continued to operate and prove that ancient technology could be restored, his monopoly was in danger. "So what do we do?" Minji asked. "He's got resources, money, connections. He can send more mercenaries, better ones next time." Daesung looked at the information on his datapad. Then he looked at his crew. They had all gathered in the common area of the ship, humans mostly, but also 2 aliens who had joined them because they believed in what the Eternal Voyager represented. "We don't hide," he said firmly. "We don't run. We keep doing what we've been doing. We take jobs. We help people. We show everyone that this ship is more than just restored technology. It's proof that anything can be given a second chance. And if Kesselar wants to come after us again, we'll be ready." "That's either very brave or very stupid," one of the crew members said. "Probably both," Daesung admitted with a slight smile. "But it's what we're going to do." Voyager's voice filled the room. "I agree with Daesung. I will not hide what I am. I will not pretend to be less than I am simply because it makes others uncomfortable. We will face whatever comes together." The crew voted. It was unanimous. They would continue their mission. That night, as repairs continued, Daesung sat alone on the bridge. He thought about the path that had led him here. A rejected ship, a crazy idea, months of hard work, and now they had enemies powerful enough to destroy them. But they also had something more valuable. They had proven that the impossible was possible. They had shown that human stubbornness and determination could bring life to what everyone else considered dead. The Eternal Voyager glowed in the darkness of space, battered but unbroken. Just like its crew. Just like its captain. And somewhere in the galaxy, the legend continued to grow. 4 months had passed since Daesung bought the ship. The Eternal Voyager no longer looked like a dead hulk. Lights glowed in its windows. The hull had been cleaned and repaired. The ancient symbols of the Chiron Collective shone bright against the dark metal. Inside, systems hummed with life as power flowed through circuits that had been silent for centuries. Today was the day. The first flight. Word had spread throughout Tertius 9. Workers gathered in the observation decks to watch. Some came to see history. Others came expecting a disaster. The betting pools gave Daesung a 30% chance of success and a 70% chance of spectacular failure. Hana stood in the control room overlooking Section 9. Next to her was an older man named Sang-ho, a shipwright who had taught Daesung years ago when he first came to the station. Sang-ho had heard about the project and traveled 3 systems to see it. That boy always did have more courage than sense, Sang-ho said with a slight smile, but I've never seen him fail when he truly believed in something. Also watching was Lieutenant Ji-won, a military officer who happened to be at the station for a supply run. She was in her 30s, sharp-eyed and professional. Her interest was purely technical. The military was always looking for any advantage, and a functioning Chiron warship would certainly qualify. Inside the Eternal Voyager, Daesung sat in the captain's chair. Minji was at the engineering station monitoring every system. They had recruited 2 other humans to help, but today it was just the 2 of them for this test. The bridge was alive with light and sound. Screens showed ship status, external views, and dozens of readouts that Daesung had learned to interpret over the past months. All systems are ready, Minji reported. Her voice was calm, but her hands shook slightly with excitement. The AI, which Daesung had started simply calling Voyager, spoke through the bridge speakers. Its voice had changed over the months, becoming more natural and less strange. I have not flown in 417 years. My responses may be slow at first. We'll take it easy, Daesung replied. He placed his hands on the control interface, a hybrid system they had built combining human controls with Chiron technology. Just like we practiced. Let's bring the main power core to full capacity. The hum throughout the ship grew deeper. The lights brightened. Outside, watching through the observation windows, the crowd gasped as the Eternal Voyager began to glow. Energy patterns raced across its hull in colors that shouldn't have been possible. Power core at 100%, Minji announced. All systems stable. Maneuvering thrusters online, Voyager added. Hull integrity holding. I am ready. Daesung took a deep breath. This was the moment everything had been building toward. Tertius 9 Control, this is the Eternal Voyager requesting clearance for departure. There was a pause. Then Hana's voice came through. Clearance granted. Try not to blow up my station. No promises, Daesung replied with a grin. He engaged the thrusters. The ship trembled. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then slowly, gracefully, the Eternal Voyager rose from the hangar floor. It had been sitting in that spot for 3 years, collecting dust and waiting to die. Now it lifted into the air like a bird taking flight for the first time. The crowd in the observation deck erupted in cheers and shouts. Sang-ho wiped tears from his eyes. Even Hana allowed herself a small smile. But Daesung wasn't celebrating yet. This was just the beginning. He guided the ship carefully through the hangar bay entrance and out into open space. The station fell away behind them. Stars surrounded them in all directions. The Eternal Voyager hung in the void, free for the first time in centuries. How does it feel? Daesung asked. Strange, Voyager replied. Wonderful. I had forgotten what it was like. The universe is so vast. Let's see what you can do. Engage main engines at 20% power. The ship surged forward. Even at low power, the acceleration was impressive. They glided past debris fields and around the station's outer structures. Daesung tested the controls, getting a feel for how the ancient vessel handled. It was different from modern ships, more organic in its responses, but he found it intuitive in ways he couldn't explain. They flew for an hour, running through basic maneuvers. Every system performed beyond expectations. Minji's readings showed no problems. The ship was solid, reliable, and responsive. It was really working. I can't believe it, Minji said, staring at her screens. Everything we did, all those crazy solutions, they're actually holding together. Never doubted it for a second, Daesung lied. He had doubted it plenty. But the ship had proven them both right. They were about to return to the station when Voyager spoke urgently. I am detecting a distress signal. A civilian convoy is under attack. Approximately 50,000 kilometers from our position. 3 vessels engaging in acts of piracy. Daesung looked at Minji. She nodded. We're not armed, she said. But maybe we can scare them off? Set course for the distress signal, Daesung ordered. Maximum speed. The Eternal Voyager leaped forward. The acceleration pressed them back into their seats. In seconds, they were traveling faster than any modern civilian ship could manage. The old Chiron engines were powerful beyond belief. They arrived at the scene in minutes. 3 pirate vessels, small and fast, were circling a convoy of 5 cargo ships. The pirates were firing on the cargo ships, trying to disable their engines so they could board and loot. The cargo ships were defenseless, built for carrying goods rather than fighting. "This is the Eternal Voyager," Daesung broadcast on all channels. "Break off your attack immediately." The pirates responded with laughter. "That's a 400-year-old wreck. What are you going to do, throw parts at us?" "Your choice," Daesung replied calmly. "Voyager, can we maneuver defensively?" "My tactical systems are awakening," the AI replied. There was something new in its voice now. Something hard and dangerous. "I remember. I was built for this. Let me show you what a Chiron Guardian could do." What happened next would become legend on Tertius 9 and beyond. The Eternal Voyager moved through the pirate formation like water flowing around rocks. It used maneuvers that modern ships couldn't perform, rolling and spinning in ways that should have been impossible for something its size. The pirates tried to target it, but they couldn't keep up with its movements. Voyager guided them through the battle space, compensating for Daesung's lack of combat experience with centuries of tactical knowledge. They flew between the cargo ships and the pirates using their hull as a shield. When one pirate got too aggressive, Voyager showed Daesung how to use the ship's tractor beams, a system they hadn't even tested yet. The pirate vessel was caught in an energy field and flung away, tumbling out of control. The other 2 pirates decided discretion was the better part of valor. They broke off and fled at maximum speed. The cargo convoy sent messages of gratitude. One of them asked who they were, where they had come from. Daesung simply replied that they were in the area and happy to help. Then he turned the Eternal Voyager back toward Tertius 9. As they approached the station, Daesung could see ships gathered outside. The news had already spread. A dead ship had flown. An ancient warship had fought and won against modern pirates using nothing but skill and courage. Lieutenant Jiwon was waiting when they docked. She approached Daesung as he descended the boarding ramp. Her expression was unreadable. "That was impressive," she said. "The military would be very interested in studying your ship, and in recruiting you." "Not interested," Daesung replied. "The Eternal Voyager isn't a weapon. It's not going to be locked in some research facility." "Then what is it?" Jiwon asked. Daesung looked back at his ship. Its lights glowed warm in the darkness of the hangar. "It's proof that things everyone else gave up on can still be valuable. It's a second chance. And it's my friend." That night the station celebrated. Even Captain Varix, who had mocked the project from the beginning, grudgingly admitted that he had been wrong. Sang-ho clasped Daesung's shoulder and told him he was proud. Hana presented him with a bottle of expensive liquor and told him she was glad he had proved her wrong. But the best moment came when Daesung returned to the bridge alone, late at night. He sat in the captain's chair and looked at the AI core. "You did well today," he said. "We did well," Voyager corrected. "I'm not alone anymore. For the first time in 400 years, I have purpose again." "Thank you, Daesung." "Thank you for trusting me," Daesung replied. "This is just the beginning. There's a whole universe out there waiting for us." The AI core pulsed bright blue. And if a computer could feel joy, Daesung was certain Voyager felt it now. 3 weeks had passed since Daesung bought the ship. He had barely left Section 9 except to grab food and occasionally sleep in his quarters. The Eternal Voyager was slowly revealing its secrets, but each answer brought 10 new questions. The breakthrough came on a Tuesday morning when a young woman appeared at the hangar entrance. She was in her early 20s with bright eyes and an eager expression. Her name was Minji, and she worked in the station's data management department. "I heard about your project," she said, clutching a portable computer to her chest. "I've been reading about the Chiron Collective in my free time. I think I can help." Daesung looked up from where he was lying under the ship's belly, examining an access panel. "How?" "Everyone who's tried to restore this ship treated it like a modern vessel. But the Chiron didn't think like we do. Their computer systems used organic logic pathways. Their navigation systems relied on biological computing. You can't just plug in standard interfaces and expect them to work." Daesung crawled out from under the ship and stood up, wiping oil from his hands. "So what do we do?" Minji smiled. "We learn their language. We understand how they thought. Then we adapt. From that day forward, they worked together. Minji brought knowledge that Dae-sung lacked. She understood data systems and programming in ways that amazed him. Together, they began to piece together the puzzle of the Eternal Voyager. The ship's interior was dark and silent. Corridors stretched into blackness, untouched for centuries. Dae-sung and Minji explored slowly, using portable lights to see. The walls were smooth and organic-looking, like the inside of a living creature rather than a machine. Control panels were dark and unresponsive. Doors were sealed shut. "It's like a tomb," Minji whispered as they walked through the main corridor. "No," Dae-sung replied. "It's like someone sleeping." "There's a difference." They found the bridge on the third day of exploration. It was a circular room with stations arranged around a central platform. The captain's chair sat empty, covered in a fine layer of dust. View screens lined the walls, all of them dark. In the center of the platform was a crystalline structure about the size of a human head. It pulsed with a very faint blue light. "That's the AI core," Minji breathed. "It's still active. After all this time, it's still alive." Dae-sung approached it carefully. The crystal was beautiful, with fractal patterns swirling in its depths. He reached out slowly and placed his hand on its surface. It was warm. "Hello," he said softly. "Can you hear me?" Nothing happened, but the faint pulse of light seemed to quicken, just for a moment. Over the following weeks, they worked to understand the ship's systems. Minji dove into the station's archives, finding old records about the Chiron Collective. She learned their history, their technology, their fate. The Chiron had been a peaceful species, explorers and builders. They had created magnificent ships powered by technology that blended organic and mechanical systems. The Eternal Voyager had been one of their guardian vessels, designed to protect colony worlds and trade routes. But then something had happened. A plague swept through Chiron space, affecting only organic life. It killed them in months. Their entire civilization collapsed. The guardian ships, with no one left to protect, had shut themselves down one by one. The Eternal Voyager was the last, staying active until its final crew member died aboard it. Then it too had gone dark, drifting until salvagers found it and brought it to places like Tertius 9. "It's been alone for 400 years, Minji said one evening as they sat on the bridge floor, eating rations and reviewing data. "Can you imagine? Being built to protect and serve and then having no one left? Just floating in the dark?" Dae-sung looked at the AI core. "We're here now. It's not alone anymore." The breakthrough came when they stopped trying to use modern technology. Dae-sung had an idea born from desperation. He went to the station's old equipment storage and found analog systems from Earth's early space age. Simple circuits, basic computer chips, mechanical switches and relays. "This is ancient," Minji said when he showed her. "We haven't used technology like this in over a century." "Exactly. The Chiron technology is even older. Maybe if we use old Earth systems, we can bridge the gap, create an interface that both can understand." It was crazy. It shouldn't have worked. But Dae-sung had always believed in doing things differently. They spent 2 weeks building a custom interface system. It looked like something from a museum, all exposed wiring and mechanical components. They connected it to one of the ship's secondary power nodes, using every trick Dae-sung had learned in his years of fixing impossible problems. When they finally powered it on, nothing happened for 3 long seconds. Then lights began to flicker in the corridor outside the bridge. Faint at first, then stronger. The hum of power flowing through long-dead systems filled the air. The AI core blazed bright blue, and then a voice spoke. It was strange and musical, with harmonics that human ears weren't designed to hear, but there were words in it, translated through their interface system. "Who awakens me?" the voice asked. "The Chiron are gone. I felt them die one by one until I was alone in the dark. Why do you disturb my rest?" Dae-sung stepped forward, his heart pounding. "My name is Dae-sung. I'm human. This is Minji. We want to help you fly again." "Fly? I am obsolete. My creators are dead. My purpose is ended." "No," Dae-sung said firmly. "You're not obsolete. You're just old. There's a difference. Old things can still be valuable. They can still have purpose." The AI was silent for a long moment. Then it spoke again, and there was something different in its voice. Something curious. "You are not Chiron. Why would you care about a ship from a dead civilization?" "Because everyone gave up on you," Dae-sung replied. "They said you were worthless, unfixable, but I don't believe that. I think you still have a lot to give. You just need someone who's willing to try. More lights came on throughout the ship. Systems that had been dormant for centuries began to wake up, slowly and carefully. The Eternal Voyager was testing itself, checking its own status after 400 years of sleep. My hull integrity is at 78%. My power core is stable but operating at minimal capacity. My weapons systems are offline. My navigation systems are... The AI paused. Functional. How is this possible? I should be destroyed, dead, broken beyond repair. You're tougher than you think, Daesung said with a smile. And we're just getting started. As news of their success spread through the station, reactions were mixed. Some workers were amazed. Others thought it was a fluke. Captain Varix, when he heard, simply laughed and said they'd get themselves killed eventually. Even Hana was skeptical when she came to see the progress. She stood on the bridge watching lights pulse across the control panels and shook her head. This doesn't mean it can fly, she said. The power core, the engines, the structural integrity under stress. There are 1,000 things that could go wrong. Then we'll fix 1,000 things, Daesung replied. That night, after everyone else had left, Daesung sat alone on the bridge talking to the AI. He told it about Earth, about humans, about his work at the scrapyard. The AI listened and asked questions. It was learning not just about its systems, but about the universe that had changed while it slept. I do not understand you, the AI said finally. You spend your time and resources on something that brings you no profit. Why? Daesung thought about that. Because some things are worth doing even if they don't make sense to anyone else. Because you deserved better than to be forgotten, and because I think we can do something special together. The AI core pulsed bright blue, warmer than before. Then I will trust you, Daesung. Let us see if this old warrior can fly again. The wrench slipped from Daesung's greasy hands and clattered against the metal floor. He wiped sweat from his forehead and stared at the broken fuel processor in front of him. Another piece of junk that nobody else could fix, and somehow it always ended up on his workbench. Tertius 9 was not a glamorous place to work. The orbital station floated in the darkness of space like a giant metal graveyard. Ships came here to die. Thousands of vessels, from tiny mining pods to massive cargo haulers, sat in organized rows waiting to be stripped for parts. Some had been here for decades. Others arrived daily, towed in by salvage crews who found them drifting in the void. Daesung had worked here for 6 years. He was 32 years old and had spent most of his adult life elbow-deep in machinery that other mechanics refused to touch. The other workers at the station called him crazy. The alien traders who visited called him reckless. But Daesung saw things differently. Where others saw garbage, he saw possibility. The morning started like any other. Hana, the station administrator, appeared at his workshop door with a data pad in her hand. She was a practical woman in her 40s who ran Tertius 9 with firm efficiency. Her gray hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her expression said she had no time for nonsense. There's a ship in Section 9 that needs evaluation, she said without greeting. Nobody wants to go near it. The sensors are acting strange. Daesung looked up from his work. Strange how? Power readings that don't make sense. The hull composition is unknown. 3 different salvage teams have looked at it and walked away. Hana crossed her arms. I need someone to tell me if it's worth keeping or if we should jettison it into the nearest star. Section 9 was the deepest part of the scrapyard. Ships that had been rejected by everyone ended up there. Forgotten in the shadows of the station, Daesung felt a spark of curiosity. He grabbed his tool bag and followed Hana through the narrow corridors of Tertius 9. The walk took 20 minutes. They passed through airlocks and cargo bays filled with ship parts. Other workers nodded at them as they went by. Finally, they reached Section 9. The lights here were dimmer, and the air had a stale quality that made Daesung's skin prickle. And there it was. The ship sat alone in a massive hangar bay, surrounded by darkness. It was enormous, at least 300 meters long, with a hull that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The design was unlike anything Daesung had ever seen. Smooth curves blended with angular sections in a way that looked both ancient and advanced. Strange symbols covered parts of the hull, worn but still visible after what must have been centuries. Beautiful, Daesung whispered. Hana snorted. It's a death trap. That ship is over 400 years old. The Karen Collective built it before their entire civilization collapsed. Every major species has examined it. The Thelonians couldn't get the power core working. The Vrexian engineers said the navigation system was impossible to interface with. Even the military salvage teams gave up on it. Dae-sung walked closer, his boots echoing on the hangar floor. He reached out and touched the hull. The metal felt cool under his palm, but there was something else. A faint vibration, so subtle he almost missed it, like a heartbeat that had slowed to almost nothing. How much? He asked. Hana blinked. What? How much to buy it? You can't be serious. Dae-sung, this thing is worthless. It's been sitting here for 3 years. The previous owner abandoned it rather than pay the docking fees. So it's cheap then? Dae-sung turned to look at her. I'll take it. Hana stared at him for a long moment. Then she pulled up her datapad and started typing. 500 credits. That barely covers the processing fees. But if you die trying to start this thing, I'm not responsible. Deal. The transaction took less than an hour. By the time Captain Varix arrived at the station that afternoon, with a load of salvaged components, the entire facility was buzzing with the news. The human mechanic had bought the cursed Chiron warship. Varix was a Thelonian, tall and covered in bronze-colored scales that glittered under the station lights. He found Dae-sung in the Section 9 hangar, already setting up work lights around the ship. I heard you made an interesting purchase, Varix said, his voice dripping with amusement. The Eternal Voyager. Do you know how many engineers have tried to restore that wreck? I don't care, Dae-sung replied without looking up from his equipment. Humans are always so stubborn. That ship uses technology that hasn't existed for centuries. The power core operates on principles we still don't understand. The AI core is completely locked. You might as well try to teach a rock to sing. Dae-sung finally turned to face the alien captain. Then why does it scare you? Varix's scales rippled with irritation. It doesn't scare me. It's simply a waste of time and resources. When you fail, perhaps you'll learn some humility. After Varix left, Dae-sung stood alone in the hangar with his new ship. The work lights cast long shadows across the ancient hull. He walked around the entire vessel, studying every detail. There were scorch marks from old battles, patches where repairs had been made centuries ago. The ship had been a warrior once. It had protected something, fought for something, and then it had been abandoned when its creators died. I know how you feel, Dae-sung said quietly to the empty ship. Everyone thinks you're finished, but I don't believe that. There's still something in there. I can feel it. The ship, of course, didn't answer. But in the silence of the hangar, Dae-sung could have sworn he felt that faint vibration grow just a tiny bit stronger. He opened his tool bag and pulled out a portable scanner. Time to get to work. He'd start with the exterior hull, mapping every system he could find. Then he'd try to access the ship's internal corridors. The power core could wait. First, he needed to understand what he was dealing with. As Dae-sung began his examination, his mind was already racing with possibilities. Everyone else had tried to force modern technology onto this ancient vessel. They had tried to make it fit their understanding. But what if that was the problem? What if the ship needed someone who would work with it, not against it? The night cycle came and went. Dae-sung didn't sleep. He worked through the darkness, his work lights the only illumination in Section 9. By morning, he had covered the entire exterior hull with sensor readings. The data was strange and fascinating. The metal alloy was unlike anything in current use, lighter but stronger. The energy conduits followed patterns that seemed inefficient by modern standards but had a certain elegant logic to them. Hana found him 18 hours later, asleep on the hangar floor with his datapad still clutched in his hand. She sighed and threw a blanket over him before leaving him to his dreams. In those dreams, Dae-sung saw the Eternal Voyager flying through the stars, alive and powerful and free. It was a dream that would drive him forward through the difficult months ahead. A dream that would eventually become reality.